Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλησπέρα σας. Είμαι ο Απόστολος Μαγγηριάδης. Καλώς ήρθατε στον Επίλογο. Απόψε φιλοξενούμαστε στην πρεσβευτική κατοικία του Αμερικανού πρέσβη στην Αθήνα, του Τζορτζ Τσούνη. Μιλήσαμε για μια σειρά από ζητήματα, τα θέματα εξωτερικής πολιτικής, τα ελληνοτουρκικά, το ρόλο του ΝΑΤΟ στην περιοχή μας, τα θέματα συνεργασίας μεταξύ ΗΠΑ και Ελλάδας σε επίπεδο επιχειρηματικό, αλλά και στα θέματα εκπαίδευσης. Ρωτήσαμε ακόμη και τον Αμερικανό πρέσβη για το πώς κατάφερε να χάσει 40 κιλά μέσα σε 2 χρόνια. Νομίζω θα βρείτε πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα αυτή τη συζήτηση. Ας την παρακολουθήσουμε. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for hosting ERT tonight at the embassy. You're in your third year in your tenure as the U.S. Ambassador to Greece. What's your outlook for the country? Are you optimistic?
Apostolos, this is such a pleasure to be with you today, and thank you for visiting with me. I'm incredibly opportunistic. Greece has emerged from a great recession and crisis, and they're emerging strongly. This is the fastest growing economy in Europe over the last 3 years. 2022, 2023, Economy of the Year by Economist. You've gone from an employment rate that was 28% to now high single digits and dropping. Πήγες από ένα κράτος που δεν μπορούσε να βρεις μια δουλειά, τώρα δεν μπορείς να βρεις εργάτες. Μεγάλη αλλαγή. Greek sovereign debt as a percentage to DGP is dropping precipitously, and it's a manageable, sustainable debt profile. About 58% of it is fixed for 17 years at 1.2%. But the economy is doing very well. It's investment grade. U.S. companies and foreign companies have found Greece. We're deeply invested in Greece's success. But Greece has the single most important thing that someone in the C-suite looks for. Πανέξιμοι, σπουδασμένοι, άνθρωποι. It has the intellectual capital. So U.S. investment, Pfizer, Cisco, Amazon, Google, Meta, they have found Greece. And, you know, όταν λέω οι καλύτερες μέρες της Ελλάδας είναι μπροστά μας, το πιστεύω.
Since you're referring to the American investments, Cisco and Amazon and Google and Microsoft, first of all, do you see any progress on those investments? And do you see any more companies actually on the technology sector or other sectors coming to Greece and investing?
I do. You know, you take a look at Pfizer. Pfizer started a couple of years ago with no footprint in Thessaloniki, and it has over 1,000 technologists doing very serious work in Thessaloniki today. And, you know, my good friend Albert Bourla would like to hire another couple of hundred more, if not 500 more in the coming years. Cisco has a footprint there. Deloitte has a massive footprint there. Google and Microsoft and AWS are investing billions of dollars here. Now, a lot of the foreign direct investment in Greece is real estate and tourism driven, and that's wonderful. Over 4 billion euros in tourism investments. And to get the top type of visitors. Mm-hmm. So the Four Seasons is coming to the Aegean. A one and only has opened in Glyfada. You have another one that opened up in Kia. You look at a Mandarin Oriental has opened up in Messenia. The Hilton is becoming a Conrad and a Waldorf, and it's over a 300 million euro investment. Mandarin and a second Marriott product is coming to Glyfada. You have another one and only and an Amman resort that's coming to Mykonos. So tourism is booming in Greece. That's wonderful. Real estate is booming in Greece. That's wonderful. But you also have emerging investments in technology and things that drive a modern 21st century economy. We'd like to see more of that happen. There is a blueprint on how we can achieve that. The United States government stands ready to help Greece. But I will tell you, led by a prime minister who's Harvard Business School, and a very capable economic team, they have the economic future of the country on the right track, have made tremendous progress. I think the economy will continue to grow and deepen and prosper. The U.S. Embassy is just happy to play a small role in that.
Right. That's the one side. There's another side that says that there is some resentment from people who, they struggle because, cost of living is becoming too high, and they don't have the opportunities to somehow, follow the trends. Do you sense that, inclusiveness is a word that I know that you also, it's a notion that you work on, is something that can be achievable?
Of course it can. This is not something that is particular to Greece. This is happening all over the world. And let me answer your first question on inflation. Inflation is a global issue. Greece, it's come down to below 3%. It is lower, and I think they've been more aggressive than most countries. But the war in Ukraine, a lot of government spending, EU, the United States, and others, to restart their economies after COVID, added a lot of velocity to economies, but also created inflation. But they erred on the side of caution that they needed to restart the economy when people had lost hope. And one of the consequences of that was inflation, which they are taming, and that takes time. That is a global issue. But when it comes to inclusiveness and opportunity for all, we all have to do better. Ξέρετε η ιστορία της οικογένειας μου. Η μάνα μου και ο πατέρας μου έφυγαν από ένα μικρό χωριό, φτώχεια. Πήγαν στην Αμερική και βρήκαν δουλειά. They were able to rebuild their lives in the United States. But there was opportunity for them. We were accepted. My sisters and I all went to college and graduate school, and we were able to have prosperous lives. I want every single person to have that opportunity, because this is the type of society we should have. This is the type of ethos that να έχουμε ευκαιρίες για όλους. It's not just the right thing to do for society. It's the right thing that we do for the economy. When we unleash, when we help provide every child a great education, let them climb the ladders of success, we unleash creativity. We unleash vibrancy into the economy, and it grows economies. So we have all of us, work to do here regarding this to make sure that prosperity is shared by all.
It's nice that you're referring to your parents' story. I sense that in some ways, this mobility that you're referring to is not as easy as it was back in the 40s or the 50s. And I would like to ask your opinion on how you can, increase the number of Greeks that can, move to the United States and get better opportunities.
Apostolos, it wasn't easy back in the 40s and 50s because, people left Greece without a lot of money, without language, to an unknown land and had to restart their lives. It wasn't easy for anyone. And there are 120 million displaced persons in the world, half of which are children. And they're fleeing, community violence and war. I am concerned about their plight. I am concerned that there's 10 million displaced in Somalia. I'm concerned about that humanitarian crisis and what a possible migration might look at. The world is a very complex place, and we all need to work together to ameliorate some of these impacts. But very specifically, to your question on how do we create opportunities for all, we cannot globally continue to underinvest in large swaths of our populations and our economy. We're going to be judged on how we treat the most vulnerable. I want every school to be a palace. I want every child to get a first-rate education. I want every child to have an opportunity to go to college in Greece, the most outstanding public university, or if they choose to go to a private university, or to choose another career path. I want this to be a vibrant 21st century economy that provides opportunity for all. And that takes investment. And it starts with an outstanding education for all. It also starts with making sure that we are providing foundations for companies to grow in Greece and to come to Greece and establish hubs here. Because in the United States, we have upward mobility. We have a lot of large companies. If you're not happy at Google, you go to Amazon. If you're not happy at Amazon, you go to Microsoft. They're very, very large companies, and there's upward mobility that people have ευκαιρίες. And I want every place, the United States, Greece, every place, to be a land of opportunity and possibility for all.
We'll talk a lot about education later, but let me ask you, how do you consider your personal touch on the diplomatic post you currently serve? I can remember, maybe 6 or 7 American diplomats that served in this post before you. And I can tell you that they were totally different. So how do you evaluate your own personal touch?
Well, I have a lot of respect for the ambassadors who preceded me. I think not only were they outstanding career diplomats, but they were very fine persons as well. And I respect their lifelong endeavors and the work that they did here in Greece. I don't come from the diplomatic community. I was a business person that President Biden asked to come to Greece. But I knew how to speak the language. I spent my summers in Belatanos. Έπαιζα ποδόσφαιρο με φίλοι που τους έχω στη ζωή μου για 45 χρόνια. Ο Κώστας ο Έξαρχος, ο Δημήτρης ο Ζωβασάκος, ο Νίκος ο Καλές, ο Κώστας ο Ξίδης. Ακόμα μέχρι σήμερα οι καλύτεροι φίλοι που έχω στη ζωή μου είναι αυτά τα παιδιά που τα γνώρισα στο γήπεδο.
Και παίζετε ακόμα ποδόσφαιρο?
Παίζουμε ακόμα λίγο πιο σιγά τα πράγματα και δεν παίζουμε 90 λεπτά τώρα. Αυτά τα χρόνια, πρωί, μεσημέρι, απόγευμα, νύχτα, η γιαγιά μου να πάει στο γήπεδο, έλα τώρα πρέπει να φάμε. We're a little slower, but I come from a perspective that I believe that the best diplomacy is one that takes part 1 meter away. I believe that when I approach someone about an issue, it is not about we're the United States and this is what we need you to do. What I say is, εμείς οι δυο μας έχουμε ένα πρόβλημα και πρέπει να το λύσουμε μαζί. Και θέλω να το κάνω με σεβασμό και συνεργασία. Σε παρακαλώ δώσε μου την νόμη μου. Πώς μπορούμε να το λύσουμε μαζί. It is building in personal relationships. It's doing a lot of what we're doing. You're in the ambassador's residence. We are open. We don't hide. I walk all over Athens. I walk all over this country. Έχω πάει σε κάθε γωνία της Ελλάδας. Όχι μόνο στη Μύκηνο και σε Σαντορίνη, Αλεξανδρούπολη, Μάνη, Γιάννηνα, Πρέσβιζα, Τρίπολη, Λάρισα, Βόλος, Τρίκαλα. Έχω πάει παντού. Αγαπάω τους Έλληνες. Είναι καλοί άνθρωποι. Όμως, σε ό,τι κάνεις σε αυτή τη ζωή, με φίλοι, με τα παιδιά σου, με τη γυναίκα σου, με την οικογένεια σου, με συγκάτοικοι, με συνέτεροι, πρέπει να έχουν σεβασμό. Και εύχομαι να ξέρουν οι Έλληνες, είμαι άνθρωπος που έχω πολύ σεβασμό και αγάπη για την Ελλάδα και Έλληνες. Και μόνο έτσι μπορούμε να λύσουμε προβλήματα μαζί. Μόνο έτσι μπορούμε να βάλουμε την Αμερική, την Ελλάδα πιο σφιχτή. So it is very important that we do the work and we show, we demonstrate that we are prepared to work with Greece in a construct of respect and cooperation to bring the two countries closer together and to bring the two peoples closer together. And whether it involves intelligence, military, economics, investment, public diplomacy, culture, museums, education, whatever pillar in the U.S.-Greek relationship, we should be prepared to demonstrate, όχι μόνο με λόγια, με έργα, που είμαστε εδώ να δουλέψουμε μαζί, that the United States is invested in Greece's success και θα στέκομαστε δίπλα την Ελλάδα πάντοτε.
I understand that you will be leaving the country early next year. Will you go back to business or will you look for another diplomatic post around the world?
Apostole, I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner tonight.
All right.
But you know, that's a decision I'm going to sit down with Olga and the kids to make as to, you know, what's best for our family. But I will tell you, Olga and my 3 children, we've been here for over 2 years. They have been the happiest and most gratifying period in our lives. I was in the Oval Office with President Biden and Prime Minister Mitsotakis, and the president said to me, "George, you enjoying yourself?" And before I could answer the president, Prime Minister Mitsotakis says, "Are you kidding me? The smile hasn't left his face from the moment he got there." Το χαμόγελο δεν έχει φύγει από το πρέσβη, το πρόσωπο, από την ώρα που ήρθε στην Ελλάδα. And the Prime Minister's right. This has been a very, very happy time for me and my entire family, and I'm grateful to the people of Greece για την καλοσύνη, τη φιλοξενία, την αγάπη που έχει δείξει όχι μόνο εμένα και την Όλγα και τα παιδιά μου.
All right, so good luck with any of your decisions. Now, as we speak, the NATO summit takes place in Ουάσιγκτον, D.C., and one of the greatest fear for us, the Europeans, is that, you know, at some point, one administration, maybe the Trump administration, maybe any administration, I said Trump administration, meaning if he gets elected in November, they will reconsider the U.S. role in NATO. Or the focus in our region, the Mid-East, the East Mediterranean. Is that a credible fear, you sense?
No, it's not. You know, just look what's happened in the last couple of years. NATO has expanded. We have added Finland and Sweden, 2 very, very capable countries in which Greece has an outstanding relationship as well. We have strengthened the NATO alliance. An alliance that has provided the security architecture for Europe for the last 75 years. It's indispensable. It's important, and Greece has been an important member, and it is part and parcel of the safety and security of Greece as well. So for 75 years, NATO has been there. Now, if you look at over the last couple of years, Europe has come together to say ohi to Russia, who has tried to change a nation's boundaries by force in this day and age. Countries who were not meeting their Wales pledge, which means 2% of their GDP on military spend. Greece has always done it. The United States has always done it. But there are only a handful of countries that did it prior to the invasion. Today, 22 or 23 out of 32 do it, and that's rising. NATO is it's an organization of 22 countries. The United States plays an important role, and we will continue to do so. But it is about our collective security. And in the last couple of years, NATO has come together and is ever more united in a common purpose to continue to provide the security architecture for the region. Now, I want to point to something that I want to give you a little bit of reassurance on. We have had, in the last 12 years or so, 3 presidents. They've come from 15 years, I should say, 3 presidents. They come from 2 different parties, but 3 very different people, President Obama, President Trump, and President Biden. And we have had at the same time 4 prime ministers in Greece, 4 very different prime ministers from 3 different parties, Papandreou, Samaras, Tsipras, and Mitsotakis. And over 3 presidents and 4 prime ministers in the last 15 years, the relationship between the United States and Greece has only strengthened. And it is at a very high point, and it will continue to do so. Mm-hmm. The United States recognizes how important Greece is. It is the essential NATO ally, and it is the essential partner in the region. So anyone who doesn't understand that the East Med is important, really, I respect everyone's opinion, but there's just no merit to that argument. This is an important region. Greece is our strategic ally and essential partner in the region. And that's why we continue to work ever more closely with Greece to provide peace and stability in the region.
You will be also continuing to support the schemes of cooperation, Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and Greece, Cyprus, Egypt?
Yes, we're very committed to this. Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and the United States is the 3+1. We're very committed to it. And, it helps us that Greece has credibility and strong relationships with all of its neighbors, both European and in the Middle East and with Israel. Greece has a lot of credibility in the region, and it's also it's the pillar of stability surrounded by several arcs of instability. It is not an exaggeration to say that the United States needs Greece as an essential partner, as much as Greece needs the United States. But the United States understands that it is essential, not only in NATO, but globally to provide stability.
There is the question about NATO, because even the Greek Prime Minister, joined by Donald Tusk, raised the idea of creating a European anti-drone safety shield in the coming years. That somehow is showcasing some kind of a worry that maybe NATO is not enough, maybe we as Europeans should do more.
Well, that's a European question, and Prime Minister Mitsotakis is showing leadership in the European community. Now, that is an issue for the 27 EU members, but when you're providing a deterrent, a shield against drones, which is a deterrent, that's always a good idea. We make these investments to avoid conflict and, security through strength. Like I said, this is a question for the Europeans, but it's nice to see that the Prime Minister continues to provide sage leadership in Brussels.
I'm sure the one question that you have been always needed to address was the issue of the Greek-Turkish relations, and I'm sure that over the last 16, 17 months you've been following the moratorium between Athens and Ankara. Let me ask you, first of all, whether you sense that this will last, and on another level, whether you sense that the disputes somehow can be resolved and the two countries can actually follow a path of dialogue that can actually end somewhere.
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. It's nice to see that Prime Minister Mitsotakis and President Erdogan will be meeting possibly for the fifth time in a year. Dialogue is always important, but it's not just amongst the heads of government. All up and down the diplomatic and military ladder, interlocutors from Greece and Turkey have dialogue. That has led to a 90% reduction in illegal migration coming from Turkey to Greece. That's stabilizing. It has also ended overflights in the last 17 months. That is stabilizing. That is something we applaud. There has been a warming of relations. We encourage both of our allies to continue it. It's in both of their best interests. The positive agenda is speaking about increasing trade between the two countries from 6 billion euros to 10 billion euros by the end of the decade. That is important. And this 1 week visa for Turkish citizens to go in the Greek islands will probably bring an additional 1 million Turkish visitors to Greece. And they're each other's ambassadors. From what I've heard, from places like Rhodes and other islands, that the interaction between Turkish tourists and the Greeks in those islands have been warm and hospitable and wonderful. And this is what we should emphasize, that both countries engage with each other with respect. And I'm heartened to see that things are in a much better place. And I'm hopeful, and I would encourage both countries to continue down that course, as it's in both of their best interests.
One issue that is of great importance for Greek people, especially for the people who live in northern Greece, is the issue of the North Macedonia. And I'm sure you have been following the breach of the Prespon agreement by members of the new government in North Macedonia. Are there any ways for NATO to somehow, realign the new government into the Prespon agreement?
I don't want to be unkind here, as the new government is new, and but it would be a mistake to do anything that would jeopardize the Prespon agreement. That was a hard-fought agreement. It was historic, and it should be respected. I'm kind of surprised at the new government of North Macedonia would not refer to North Macedonia by its constitutional name. I think we were all surprised, but we're all respectfully trying to urge them to refer to their country's name by its constitutional name. Now, having said that, adherence to international agreements is the very backbone of diplomacy. To not adhere to them creates very problematic situations.
And you sense that they might jeopardize their European path?
That is, I don't speak for Europe, but I would reiterate what my government has said, that we have strongly advised our North Macedonian friends to refer to their country by its constitutional name, that Presva is relevant and it should be adhered to, because international agreements amongst countries is the very backbone of diplomacy. To not do so would lead to, I think, unnecessary stress, and this is completely avoidable.
You have repeatedly referred to the decisive role that the Greek shipbuilding industry can play. And with the revival of Greece's shipbuilding industry, will maritime cooperation between Greece and the US be able to be further strengthened?
It will, and it's not just a Greece-US thing. This is global in nature. 90% of the global economy moves on a ship, and Greece controls about 22% of the deadweight tonnage globally. I mean, think about this, Apostolos. A country of 10.5 million people controlling 22% of the global fleet. It's incredible. It speaks to the incredible entrepreneurship of Greeks and the shipping industry. I was very happy that U.S. capital markets were able to play a pivotal role in the growth of this industry. This industry that is 8% of Greece's GDP. 29 Greek firms are on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ exchange, and that is what helped them grow. The Greek banking community during the crisis could not help them grow, and it was the U.S. that stepped in with the money and the resources that helped them expand, and that expansion led to more jobs, more impact on the Greek economy, and it improved the lives of many. And I'm glad to see that with the U.S. help, 2 U.S. companies, Cisco and Onyx, opened up the Syros shipyard. Before Onyx and Cisco got involved, with help from the United States International Development Finance Corporation, Syros was refurbishing 10 ships a year. It had 180 employees. Today, it does about 110, 120 ships a year. It has over 600 employees. It is a 250 million euro impact on the island of Syros. It's 40% of its economy. Think about the tangible benefits. How many families, how many families this helps? And now we've done it yet again on a bigger stage, Elefsina. When we got involved, the United States government put $125 million to reopen up Elefsina. Elefsina had 350 employees, and a lot of them were part-time. Now they're over 1,000, and we're well on our way, if we execute the plan, to have 3,000 employees, to be able to have a 2 billion euro impact on the economy and restore shipbuilding, ship refurbishment in Greece. So the Greek military or Greek shipping does not have to send ships to other countries for this. My friend George Procopio is opening up Skadamagas. So now you're bringing back ship refurbishment. Not only does it grow an essential industry that's strategically important, it provides jobs and good jobs. It grows the economy, but the work that's going to be done there also makes ships more efficient, which leads to decarbonization, which will help the climate crisis as well. So there's many, many benefits. It benefits Greece tremendously. It benefits the Greek people tremendously. And I'm happy to say that the United States government played a pivotal role in a lot of this with our investment in Greece.
There's also this proposal by the Greek government for the design and construction of a number of US Constellation-type frigates in Greece. How do you see this evolving?
Oh my gosh, I think that's one of the most exciting things, and it's not just the Greek government, it's our government as well. We need capacity. So to be able to build Constellation frigates, the newest class of frigates, in Greece, in cooperation with the Greek government and Greek shipbuilding, is not only important for each of our militaries, it's not only important to further expand shipbuilding in Greece, it's going to employ thousands of people, grow the economy, and further strengthen the cooperation between the two countries. So you see this evolving somehow? It absolutely is evolving.
All right.
It makes too much sense for it not to continue and manifest itself.
And just to follow up a little bit on the US-Greek military cooperation, there's this so-called Blinken package that, news has it that it has hit a roadblock because it looks like the Hellenic armed forces refuse to accept some of the offered weapon systems from US stockpiles due to high refurbishment costs. Then do you sense that, the US will come back with some other proposals?
Of course we will. It's always nice when people who have no idea what the agreement says, who were not involved in negotiating the agreement and not involved in the intricacies with it, because I was in the room. Those that are speaking about it were not. And I will not sort of guess as to what their purposes are. But I know what the U.S. commitment is to Greece. I know what will be forthcoming to Greece. And we will keep our commitment to Greece and the Greek people. Strengthening the Greek military is an important U.S. interest. It not only speaks to NATO interoperability, because Greece anchors NATO's southeast flank, but modernizing the Greek military also provides to Greek military capability and deterrence. A lot of that package also has to do with things that would be Coast Guard related as well. So modernizing the military, modernizing the Coast Guard is an important U.S. interest. These things happen over a period of time, and it will be incredibly beneficial to Greece and the Greek people.
On Monday, you will be celebrating the U.S. Independence Day in a special way this year, celebrating inclusiveness. Can you Can you say a few words about the scope of this initiative?
Well, firstly, this is about our nation's birthday. When my government was stood up 248 years ago, it was based on the values and the principles that were born right here in ancient Athens. So this American, Athenian, democratic experiment is going to be celebrated. We have to make sure that the democratic principles that were born here and are so valued in my own country apply to everyone. Democracy is where all other freedoms spring from. But we have to make sure that everyone enjoys the benefits of living in a democracy. Because democracies like Greece and the United States and Sweden and Denmark, they just don't provide greater values and principles and freedoms. They're more opportunistic, richer and safer lives. We're very, very fortunate to be able to be born into countries like this, ones that have rule of law, ones that practice democracy, because these freedoms are not available to anyone. But in all countries, we have to make sure that these opportunities apply to all. And that's the work that we all need to continue to do. I do not say this as a state of criticism. All of us need to work together to make sure that when we educate our children, we have an education system that meets the child as all children learn differently, and that is inclusive. And those that need some extra help are able to do so. That we mainstream kids because there are better academic outcomes that occur. That we have greater economic opportunities for all. And education is foundational in that. That we assist businesses that are just at their genesis so they're able to grow and employ and be a bigger part of the economy, that we're more entrepreneurial, that we're more inclusive. We have aging demographics in the West. So those that happen to be in this country already, we can let them live in the shadows, or we can incorporate them into the economy, that we can employ people, a benefit to the economy, to have it grow. They pay taxes. They live with dignity. Their children go to school. They learn Greek and English. Mm-hmm. And they have an opportunity to climb the ladders of success. This is what built the United States economy. And this is not only the right thing to do for any country's civil society, but it's the right thing to do for their economy as well. When we are inclusive, we grow economies and we have richer lives.
Let me talk a little bit about the U.S.-Greek cooperation on education front. Are you expecting more U.S. schools coming here? We saw Colombia opening up its 10th global center here in Athens, initiating taking this initiative. On the other hand, now that it's so difficult economically wise for many Greek students to actually study in the US, are there any ways to somehow, facilitate this partnership between the US and Greece, somehow, bridge this gap, bring more American students coming here to Greece, sending more Greek students to the US?
That's happening, but we need to do more, and you're absolutely right. But, in terms of education, which I said is foundational, and it changed the trajectory of my life, we need to make sure that whether you live in the United States or you live in Greece, that every school is a palace, that it provides a first-rate education for everyone.
I mean, yeah, that's nice, but it's not feasible, right? I mean,
it has to be
can't
feasible.
do that, right?
The cost
in the terms of this decade, say, for example.
Apostolos, yeah. The cost of not making the investments to do so is going to be small in terms of not acting. If you do not provide great educations for children, they miss out on opportunities. In the 8 years of the Obama administration, if you had a 4-year college degree, 8.8 million jobs created. If you had a 2-year college degree, 3.3 million jobs. And if there was no college, 80,000. In the 21st century economy, the jobs that are being created need higher education and they need skills. And we have to wake up and listen to the corporate community to say, this is what we need. We have a lot of unfilled jobs globally, and we need to provide people with the skill sets and the education needed to fill these jobs. Now, education is expensive. I recognize that. And we need to provide more in terms of scholarships and assistance to make sure that students are able to go to the United States or anywhere else that they wish to. But fundamentally, I don't want to take away from what is an outstanding public education system in Greece. They have 24 universities. They're fantastic. Continue to invest ever more money. And if those who want to go to a public university in Greece, God bless you. But if someone wants another option to go to a private university, they should have the right to do so, as they do in every other country in the world other than Cuba. Greece does not want to be in the same category globally as only Cuba and them. North Korea has private universities, and those that want to pursue other career paths, they should be welcome to do so. That is choice. And we should make sure that whatever people's choice are, it's not demonized. If what you want to do is go to a public university, by all means do so. And I would advocate that we provide more opportunities, smaller classrooms, more teachers, that we expand programs. But if you want to go to a private university, you can do so too. 40 to 50,000 young people leave the United States, leave Greece every year to go to university. Now, those that want to go to Imperial or London School of Economics, or like you did, Columbia, wonderful. But I don't want to be unkind, but there's a lot of students that maybe did not get into a public university in Greece, and maybe they're going somewhere else, to Sofia or Bucharest or maybe Nicosia. Maybe some of them would have preferred to stay in Greece to do so. So expanding educational opportunities, both public and private, I think is not only important, I get the very strong sense it's a huge priority of the Prime Minister and the Education Minister as well. And we, as a global community, need to push on greater educational opportunities with affordability for all, because it is a crime that someone who wishes to go to an educational institution that they're qualified and that they got into, and that is a desire, is not able to go because of resources.
As an extended member of the Greek diaspora, do you sense that Greece is actually taking advantage of its diaspora? It's building up on its capabilities?
I think so. I think so. I admire Israel and the Jewish diaspora in the United States. They have Birthright Israel, and it's such a huge program. They put a lot of resources into it. We have some programs. THI does things, and AHI and HALC and AHEPA and George Marcus's organization. I'm hopeful we can build upon them. I was able to go to Ionian Village as a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old. I went to the Greek Archdiocese summer camp in Bathalomio, Peloponnesos. And it was a wonderful opportunity. I did so with 200 other Greek Americans, who many of which are still friends of mine to this day. I was fortunate that my parents took me to Greece both summers. But I want everyone to have that opportunity to get to know their heritage, the land of their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents' birth. because we are each other's ambassadors. Greeks that go and spend time in the United States and Americans that spend time in Greece will undoubtedly fall in love with each other's country, each other's culture, each other's people. And this is the best diplomatic mechanism. These are the most significant ties that we should work for. Because I know how fondly you speak of your time at Columbia and New York City and how beneficial it was to not only the enrichment of your life, but the enrichment of your career. Me spending 3 years in Greece has enriched my life as well. So we need to provide more opportunities for this interaction, both cultural, educational, professional, and business-wise.
I guess you answered the question on whether you enjoyed your journey so far in Greece, and you answered this question in the Oval Office, as you just described. But on a personal question, how did you become so fit?
Τρώω τα φαγητά που μου έδωσε ο Θεός. So, έχω κόψει ζάχαρη και τρώω τα φαγητά που μου έδωσε ο Θεός. So I eat a nutrient-dense, whole food diet. I don't need anything out of a bag. I don't need snack foods. I don't need junk. I don't eat things that are highly processed. I eat food that gives me energy, but in Greece we're very, very fortunate. And candidly, the food in Greece is much better than the food in the United States for health purposes. And I can say that undiplomatically or not, as in the United States, we're very much a fast food culture, and that is unfortunate. I wake up every morning, I have 3 eggs with feta cheese. I have a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, fasolia, soupes, psari, lachanika,
And you also work out?
I do. 4 days a week, I go to the gym and lift weights for about 40 minutes, and I walk a lot. I've lost 40 kilos in Greece over the last 2 years.
Yeah. In 2 years?
In 2 years.
Oh, that's impressive.
I feel like a new person. I've lost my daughter Yana, who weighs 40 kilos. But I feel healthier, and you know, πιένω στο λαϊκή να ψωνίσω. But
doesn't this drive crazy your security guys when you go to the Laiki?
You know, my security guys are very diplomatic themselves. They say working with the ambassador is very interesting. Κοίτα, δεν θα καθίσω όλη η μέρα από πίσω στην τύχια και μέσα στο σπίτι. Θέλω να πάω να γνωρίσω άνθρωποι. Οι Έλληνες έχουν κέφι και πεπατάω παντού. So if I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to walk to the gym. If I'm going to walk to το κέντρο for a meeting, I'm going to walk. If I'm going to go out to dinner and it's within a couple of kilometers, I want to walk. It's not only healthy, but it is such a joy for me when I am out and someone stops me and says hello and talks to me and say, «Πρέσβη, έχω ξαδέρφια στο Σικάγο, έχω πάει στη Νέα Υόρκη, κοίτα, η γυναίκα μου είναι από τον τόπο σου, έχω πάει στο χωριό σου». Τι να σου πω, τι χαρά μου δίνει.
Mr. Ambassador, κύριε Γιώργο Τσούνη, thank you very much for being with ERT tonight.
Απόστολο, ήταν μεγάλη τιμή μου και μεγάλη χαρά μου.
Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ, κυρίες και κύριοι, που μας παρακολουθήσατε. Ραντεβού την επόμενη Πέμπτη. Να είστε καλά. Καλό σας βράδυ.